Hello, everybody. I today am exposing nanotechnology and nanobots in the food. Here I am looking through Google where I did a simple search of what foods can remove nanobots from the body. So as you can see here, I'm looking at all the little up and down tabs here. This one says, how can you get nanoparticles out of the body? It says that nanoparticles are in the blood and they can also be filtered out by the kidneys and excreted in the urine. Okay, this one says, how do you neutralize a nanobot? In case of failure or malfunction, a small EMP or MRI could be used to deactivate the nanobots. Basically, with a EMP, you deactivate them. What foods are nanoparticles found in? The most common protein nanoparticles found in foods are the casein missiles found in bovine milk and other dairy products. So basically, this is like cheese and things like that, where they're putting this mostly cheese and milks and things like that. Calcium products, which is pizza and cookies and things like that. Can nanotech heal itself? In the future, nanotechnology, coatings, or additives will even have the potential to allow materials to heal when damaged or worn. For example, dispersing nanoparticles throughout a material means that they can migrate to fill any cracks that appear. So these things are moving around inside of you, literally building walls inside of you, filling holes. That's interesting. It kind of makes you think about the Trump era when Trump was talking about uh, to stop building the wall, and then they went back to building the wall. Kind of makes you think. All right, next one is, how long do nanoparticles last in the body? The blood lives in the various iron oxide nanoparticles currently for clinical use. They're from 1 hour to 24 to 36 hours. However, specific biodistribution and clearance parameters depend on particle properties, such as surface characteristics, shape, size, and those different things are what make it last a X amount of time. Can nanoparticles change your DNA? Here's an important one. Some nanoparticles, if they're based on certain metals, can interact with the hydrogen peroxide that is present in every cell and convert it to a hydroxyl radical, which can enter the nucleus, and then you potentially have DNA damage. So basically, nanoparticles can damage your DNA. Now, how long do these nanoparticles last? They last around 10 days. Studies have shown that they can effectively move linearly or circularly or join with other xenobots to act collectively, move tiny objects, and live for around 10 days. So these nanobots are inside of you for 10 days doing all this stuff, moving tiny objects and working inside of you. Weird, huh? Are nanobots magnetic? A magnetic helical micro nanobot consists of at least two components, a helical body and a magnetic material. The helical body mimics the helical propulsion motion of bacterial phalangia and provides the structure with the ability to perform translational movement when it rotates along the helical axis. So these things mimic bacteriophalangia, which means that they blend in with the body and other things can't detect them. So here's a little picture of what they look like. They look like little zigzags, and I've got some videos where I actually show those little zigzag things moving around. How do nanobots repair themselves? The research believes that the nanoparticles propelled in by the chemical reaction swarmed over the break where the gold half of the pay attention to that word gold because that's very important. Half of the nanobots naturally sensed differing surface energies at the scratch settled into the gap, and they repair the circuit. So basically, once again, they're settling into gaps and crevices and creating walls and repairing. Can nanobots go through skin? New study indicates that nanoparticles do not pass through skin. Well, that indicates that the virus is not airborne. That it's something that has to be ingested. If nanoparticles do not pass through skin, then that can only mean that they are ingested. What are the negative effects of a nanobot? Two potential hazards are highlighted: the use of hazardous material in UV light in nanobots, and the loss of propulsion targeting control. Targeting control, interesting. Third, how current regulations are adapted to nanobots is discussed. So they have UV lights in these nanobots. They're putting light inside the bots, and the bots are being put inside of us. That is very interesting. So we have light in us that it's not a natural light. It's not God's light. It's an artificial, robotic light. Can nanoparticles control humans? Ooh, here's a big important one. These nanoparticles are engineered to seek out tumor cells and destroy or use as an injectable. Well, that's the good use, and that's if you hire someone to do this for you. Reversible male contraception, but in the future, gold nanoparticles could even be used to control our brain, or rather, to activate brain cells remotely and help treat neurological diseases. Now, that's scary. Now, I mean, of course, they're not going to sit here and post that this nanoparticles are going to do anything good. I mean, I'm sorry, anything bad. They're not going to post that it's going to do anything bad because they want to sell you on this transhumanism. They want everyone to be able to use this stuff. They want everyone to accept it. And there's many companies right now that are using nanotechnology to do this, to repair and to fix things in the body. When in all reality, we have our own natural healing mechanism. And these things, as you can see here, they control your brain. So all it takes is just some crazy psycho hacker that wants to do harm to the world to use these things to control us. And all they got to do to put it in our bodies is just stick it in every piece of food that you could think of, and in every fast food market, every restaurant, and everybody's got these things in them. And then whenever they want to pull the trigger, they can do harm to us using this nanotech. What does nanoparticles do to your brain? The administration of titanium oxide nanoparticles through any route leads to the absorption and translocation into the brain, which can affect brain development and function. Furthermore, they can cross the placental barrier and accumulate in the fetal brain, causing impairments in the fetal brain development. Wow, this pretty much is telling you how a lot of kids are coming out to be autistic, and they're coming out having brain issues. And it's because while the child is in the mother's womb, these nanobots cause these issues. And mind you, the nanobots are in the food that we're ingesting every day. What cells can nanoparticles cause damage to? New research by scientists shows that when cellular barriers are exposed to metal nanoparticles, cellular messengers are released that may cause damage to the DNA of developing brain cells. That's insane. That means that basically you're going to be dumbed down and your brain is not going to develop. This explains the loss of people just don't dream anymore. They don't have dreams. People don't have the ability to 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 feel like epiphanies and spiritual encounters and things like that the way that people used to back in the day when everybody was seeing things and experiencing things. Now, like, it's just something that it's very rare, and if you start experiencing it, people think you're crazy and they want to stick you with a pill or something to take it away, and it's just, this is crazy. These nanobots are causing DNA and brain, it's stopping your brains from developing. And this one's the big one. Where do nanoparticles accumulate in the body? Inhaled we already saw earlier that they cannot enter through the skin. Remember that. So inhaled particulate matter can be deposited throughout the human respiratory tract, which means that they have to go in through the mouth. And an important fraction of inhaled nanoparticles are deposited in the lungs. Nanoparticles can potentially move from the lungs to other organs such as the brain, the liver, and the spleen, and possibly the fetus in pregnant women. Wow, look at that. Which means that breathing these nanoparticles in can go through the mouth and into your lungs. Does it sound familiar? What was the main side effect during the one niner, if you know what I'm talking about, that special virus, that one niner. Yeah, so you already know. So how are nanobots powered? Okay, the mitigation of micro and nanobots can be powered by multiple strategies, including chemical catalysis, O2 or H2 generation, or chemical gradients, 511, energy, external energy sources. This is the big one right here. They can be powered through external energy sources, magnetic fields, acoustic waves, or electrical fields, and even motile cells. Ooh, look at that. Cell phones. That's the big one. That explains how the nanobots inside of us are being operated, and that explains why they want people to be in their houses during the one niner lockdowns when they locked everybody down. They want everybody to be in their houses. They're giving everybody free Wi-Fi's. They're giving everybody free cell phones. And they want you in this magnetic or electric or acoustic wave and in this energy field so that the nanobots can be powered by this external energy source and do the damage inside of you while you are using these devices. So here's the evidence, guys. Don't just take my word for it. Now, how do nanobots enter the body? Nanobots could be inserted into human veins or ingested. And they can start a journey within our human body. They could motor through them or traverse the source of disease using biological disguises and mechanism. Biological disguises. Do you see that? They can traverse the source of disease using astute biological disguises. This means that they can disguise themselves to fool diseases and infiltrate the body and fool all the other inhabitants into thinking that they are one of their own. Now, this isn't just to fight disease. They can fool the good things in your body as well into thinking that they are one of their own. So nanobots can be used for good and they can be used for bad depending on who is holding the remote. And if our government controls everything and they hold the remote, now you basically have your life in the hands of a complete stranger that may or may not really give a damn about you. And after finishing their mission, they self-degrade safely. Do nanobots require electricity? Okay, the magnetic field causes the robot's arm to vibrate, pushing it further through the blood vessels. Wow, listen to that. The scientists point out that because of all the energy for the robots comes from an external source, as you can see here, external, it's outside of the body, there's no need for an internal power source. So basically, all the source of the nanobot's power comes from an external source. And as you can see here, one of the sources is a magnetic field, kind of like an electromagnetic field, you know, like Wi-Fi. Can nanobots create anything? The theoretical uses of nanobots are virtually endless, which means yes. And their size would allow them to essentially rebuild matter, which means that they can build things inside of you. And there's this Bible verse that says, unless God is the builder, you build in vain. Okay? Now, in this sense, properly programmed nanobots would be able to take raw materials from the body, which things that you ingest, and build them into anything they want, from proteins to food to tiny microprocessors. Very interesting. Do nanobots have cameras? The answer is yes. Nanobots can be equipped with all sorts of tools such as cameras to monitor and to furnish more extensive information about the human body. Nano, laser, and nanochemical to clean infected areas. Now, I've seen articles where these nanobots with cameras can be used and linked to your cell phone, which allow the companies, Big Brother, to be able to view what's inside your body, be able to see what's being built in there. Now, the question is, why are they so interested in what's going on inside of our bodies And why do they have the capability to use this nanotechnology to destroy what's inside of our bodies at will? There's actually algorithms set into your cell phone that automatically hit pings in the mother system that basically alert the system in your cell phone to automatically increase radiation so that the nanobots in your body can act with violence at any given time to destroy specific growth in your body from your native seed, your God seed. Basically, these things were created to destroy you from evolving into the superhuman that you were created to be. You were created by God to become a superhuman, to become the likeness of Christ himself. Where he says in the Bible in Romans 8 that he would be the first amongst many to be conformed to the likeness of Christ. Which means that he literally is indicating that there will be many that will also be conformed to the likeness of Christ, just like he was. There's also a Bible verse where Jesus Christ himself says that you will be, all these things that I have done, you too shall do, because I will be going to the Father. And even greater things than I you will accomplish. And an evidence of this is Peter and his group of disciples after Jesus Christ went back to heaven and ascended and went back with God. Periodically, Jesus appeared as the Christ in his ascended form. And during that time, what Jesus said actually came true. There were other people that did exactly what he did, and even greater things than what he did were performed through Peter and many other disciples and men that also did healings and miracles and great things that they performed through Christ within them. So basically, the native DNA in each and every one of us is the same. And these nanobots are preventing us from reaching that point. They're literally designed to stop us from evolving to get to that point. They're taking over who we are. A lot of people don't understand this because a lot of people have never gotten to the level to where they can see what their full potential is. They don't understand who they really are or what they can do. You know, maybe 100 years ago, people back then, the healings, miraculous healings and miraculous things were common. You can go to any local church of Pentecostals and they'll pray over a sick and crippled man, and that man will stand up and start running. The blind can be prayed for and they can begin to see. And it's just amazing how that's something natural that we all can do, but that has been taken away from us through the use of nanotechnology and through the nanotechnology being in our food and doing all this stuff that I'm showing you guys here, this public information. All right, let's continue. What do nanobots do to the brain? We already know that it messes the brain. The application of nanobots to the human brain is denoted here as neural nanorobotics. This technology may allow for the monitoring, recording, and even manipulation of many types of brain-related information at cellular and organular levels. Now, this goes deep because if they're allowing for monitoring and recording and even manipulation of everything that the brain does, then that explains how they're able to create holographs, basically where you see things that aren't really there. They can create false dreams, simulations of worlds that you may be in right now that you think are real but are not. This goes hand in hand with the blue pill in the movie Matrix, where by taking the blue pill and indulging in the blue, it basically it puts this holographic nano, technology inside of you, and it can cause you to see different. Also, in the most recent movie, Free Guy, with Ryan Reynolds as the star, an antagonist in the movie. So you can see there's a point where he wakes up and realizes that he is in some kind of fake world, And when he sees through a different lens, he is able to see the real world and where he really is. Also in the movie Truman Show, he wakes up and notices the fake world that he is in and notices that his brain has been messed with. This is all going on right now, guys, and we just don't realize it. Let's move on. What metals are nanobots made of? Okay. Developed by an international team of researchers, the newly developed nanobots have three key components of graphene oxide exterior to absorb lead or another heavy metal, a nickel core that enables researchers to control the nanobots' movement via a magnetic field, once again, Wi-Fi or your cell phone, and an inner platinum coating that functions as a what's the word I'm looking for? We'll skip that. It's basically whenever electricity can go to specific metals, connector, or you guys know what word I'm looking for. Conductor. There you go. A conducting metal. It allows to function as a conductor for electricity to pass through. So, as you can see here, graphene oxide. We've already seen videos where graphene oxide is something that they put in your Sprite. They put this inside of Mountain Dew, Pepsi. Graphene is one of the main ingredients that they put inside of your food without you even knowing. And it is disguised as something like artificial ingredients. When you read your packaging labels, it is described as artificial flavors and things like that. And a lot of times you don't know what those artificial flavors are or artificial ingredients are. And you end up ingesting this. Now, let me see. What is the self-replicating nanobots that is out of control? Grey Goo, a nightmare scenario of nanotechnology in which out-of-control replicating nanobots destroy the biosphere by endlessly producing replicas of themselves and feeding on materials necessary for life. The term was coined by American engineer Eric Drexler in his book, Engines of Creation. Even though that's a fantasy book, that's actually based on real things. Can nanobots cross the blood-brain barrier? Here's an important one. In vitro, results proved that the potential of these nanocarriers to penetrate the blood-brain barrier and effectively deliver anti-cancer drugs and enhance brain tumor imaging. So yes, the answer is yes, they can cross the brain-blood barrier, and even though this definition is showing you that it can be used for something good, but that's how they get away with it. Because the reader reads that and they say to themselves, oh, they're using it for tumors. They're using it for good. Oh, it says anti-cancer. They're using it for anti-cancer. No, man. That's just the way that they introduce it to us to where it's accepted. But it can also be used for really bad things, as we've read here in the other articles. What are three examples of nanotechnology? Well, as you can see, the sunscreen has it. Clothing has it, furniture, adhesives, coatings for car paintwork, tennis balls, computers, and much more. Now, they won't tell you food here, because the moment they put food, everyone's going to know that that stuff is in them. Why do nanoparticles accumulate in the liver? Okay, here we go. Nanomaterials are widely used in commercial and medical products such as cosmetics, vaccines, and drug carriers. Exposure to NMs via various routes such as dermal, inhalation, and ingestion has been shown to gain access to the systemic circulation, resulting in the accumulation of nanometers in the liver. Nanomaterials. Now, they're still not saying food, but as you can see here, they use the word ingestion, okay? They put it in cosmetics, vaccines, and drug carriers. Okay, so basically they're inside of your drugs that you're taking. That right there is basically flat out telling you that it's inside of the pills that we take. So if you're on some kind of prescription pills, you probably got nanobots inside of you. Okay, and I know that really stinks, guys. I'm sorry. But this is what's being done to us, okay? But God is with us. And I know a lot of us are like, oh, God's with us. He'll help us. Yeah, that's true, but we also got to do our part, because we can have faith, but remember what it says in the book of James that faith without works is dead. And we got to do our best, okay, to fight against the enemy's tactics here. Once again, can nanoparticles go through skin? Herein, they state that these particles remain in the skin's surface or on the outer layer of the stratum corneum and do not penetrate in through the living skin. So, guys, there it is again. For those of you that think that they can get in through the skin, they can't, which means that they can only be ingested, which means that you are getting these nanobots, my friends, by something that you are putting in your mouth. More than likely, it's food. Are nanoparticles a virus? Ooh, here's a very important one. Makes you think about the one-niner. Wink, wink. Viral nanoparticles are virus-based nanoparticle formulations that can be used as a building block for novel materials with a variety of properties. Did you just read that? Wow. So, viral nanoparticles are virus-based nanoparticle formulations, which means that they act the same way that a virus acts. When a virus multiplies within your body, nanoparticles can do the same exact thing. They're building blocks. Very interesting. Can MRI detect nanoparticles? Okay. Super pragmatic nanoparticles, when placed in the magnetic field, disturb the field, causing faster water proton relaxation, thus enabling detection with MRI. Now, I did another article where proof that our cell phones contain MRI technology, which basically lets you know that that's how they're detecting the nanoparticles, with which nanoparticles are toxic to human health. Silver nanoparticles are toxic to human also. A factor that affect the cytotoxicity of silver nanoparticles are surface chemistry, crystallinity, shape size, capping agent, ionic strength, pH, presence of complexing agents. All these environmental factors also affect the toxicity. Silver nanoparticles are in many things that a lot of us are not even aware of. One of the main things that silver nanoparticles exist in is salt. If you look at the contents in salt, the specific salts, like Himalayan salt, contains many different types of metals inside of them. Silver is one of them. There are foods that contain silver nanoparticles, and we don't even realize it. Also, I don't know if you know or not, but the joining of different metal elements in the body can be refined in the body by enzymes to actually convert them into silver. Is there any toxicity of using nanoparticles? Cell membrane damage and increased oxidative stress have been reported in various mammalian cell lines. The most common toxic effect of zinc-based nanomaterials. Now, that's zinc-based nanomaterials. For a lot of people that end up taking during the 1-9, one of the main supplements that they told you in the radio and on the news to take are zinc supplements and vitamin D supplements, which are synthetic. They're not real. So zinc-based nanomaterials, as you can see here, are the most common toxic effect. What is nanotechnology food? Here's a good one. Nanomaterials used for food packaging provide many benefits such as improved mechanical barriers, detection of microbial contamination, and potentially enhanced bioavailability of nutrients. This is perhaps the most common application of nanotechnology in food and food-related industries. Well, they're making it sound like it's something good that they're using nanotechnology for, but in all reality, do we really need that in our food to give us bioavailability of nutrients? No. The nutrients themselves are, the vegetable is good if you just leave it alone and grow it the way that it's supposed to be grown. I mean, in the ancient times, they didn't have nanotechnology and they did just fine. So why the heck are they putting it in our food now? And then their excuse here is improved bioavailability of nutrients. It wouldn't need to be improved if you just left it alone. Okay. What problems do nanobots solve? Some of the ways nanobots and nanomaterials are being used are in medicine, research, and environmental remediation. That is, fixing and cleaning up problems in the environment. Wow, that's what they call de-evolving a human. Fixing and cleaning up problems in the environment. Let's fix these people. Kind of like how we do with dogs whenever we neuter our animals. What do we say? Oh, I got them fixed. Isn't that what they say? Uh-huh. So basically, that's what they're doing. They're fixing us and they're cleaning up problems. We are problems. Huh? They're destroying our God seed within. They're fixing the problem, which is humans are getting too powerful, too smart. They're becoming a problem to us. Yeah. If you read between the lines, guys, you can really know what's going on. Let's get back. Fixing and cleaning up problems in the environment in the medical field. Nanobots have been used to target and destroy cancer cells in the body while leaving healthy cells alone. Whoa, sure. Until somebody ends up hacking and they end up using them for bad to hurt the healthy ones until they push that button, and then when they push that button, voila, the nanobots start doing harm to the healthy cells as well, which is basically what's been going on forever. And then it makes you need pharmaceuticals. It makes you need the help of an outside source to help your inside heal. When in all reality, you have your natural healing mechanism, Jesus Christ within you. But but they use these things to go against the system that God created. And a lot of people would say, "Oh no, no weapon formed against me will prosper." And no, nothing can hurt us because we're God's children and God is with us. He'll protect us. Okay, so why are you sick? Why are you hurt? Is God that cruel that He's allowing you to be hurt? No, God's not cruel like that. There's nowhere in the Bible where it says that He promises that we're going to be hurt. There are instances where maybe one or two where He uses someone's pain to show His glory. Okay, but that doesn't mean that He's going to do that to everybody. But I can tell you one thing that He truly does promise. Okay, and that's in the book of Psalms. He promises that we shall be healed of all diseases and that we shall be uh, youthful like eagles. Okay, He doesn't say He's going to heal us of some ailments and diseases. He literally says the word all diseases. So He promises that. But He doesn't promise that we're all going to be sick. Okay, He doesn't promise that. He does say in the end that if anybody adds to the word, that they shall experience all the diseases and sicknesses written in the book. Now, if we know what the word is, which it says in John 1:1, the word is God. I believe it's in 1 John 1:1. In the beginning was the word, and the word is God. Okay, then, who else is God? God is also Jesus Christ, right? There's verses in the Bible where they refer to Jesus Christ as the Son of God, but also as the living, God went inside of Him and He became the bodily version of God here. So He was considered to be God as well. And then there's another verse, it says in the Old Testament, that the seed of Abraham, which are the only ones that the promise of God have been given to, the seed of Abraham is Christ. So if you put it all together, Christ is God, God is the Word, and the Word, if anything is added to it, you shall experience the diseases and sicknesses in the book. This is written in Revelation. I believe this is one of the last verses in Revelation that says this. So basically, what I interpret from this is that if we change the word, which is the God within us, the seed that He put in us, then we experience diseases. And since these nanobots and also other things that we ingest are changing the DNA, it's safe to say that that is the reason why we are experiencing sicknesses and diseases, because we are subconsciously and unknowingly doing harm to our bodies through this nanotechnology and through the ingesting of parasites and things in that nature. Our food has basically been tampered with, guys. Tampered with specifically is a dark agenda. And the agenda is more than just making you sick. It's taking your soul. It's taking away who you truly are. And it's really messed up that this is happening and that they have done this to us. And what can we do about it? What can we truly do about it? This is the reason why Paul talks about in the Bible that we need to refrain from impurities of any kind. And a lot of people think that, oh, I don't smoke, I don't drink. They think that that's enough. But that's not enough, because the impurities are not just in that. Impurities are in everything. And it's very difficult to get away from it. But we can do our best. And the more that we do it, the more of God will grow within us. And the more of God that grows within us, the more guidance we receive, the more of His grace we receive. Anyhow, let's continue. Do nanobots currently exist? Nanobots are not real and do not currently exist. That's a lie. We just read so many articles that says that they do. Okay, so I'm going to close this one out. We already know that's false. What cosmetic products contain nanoparticles? Insoluble nanoparticles in deodorants, toothpaste, shampoos, lotions, foundations, anti-aging creams, and nail polish. Okay, so I don't know if you remember or not, but in the book of Daniel, when Daniel did his Daniel fast was when he only ate vegetables, which is what it says in the newer versions. But in the old versions, King James versions, it literally says the word pulse, which consists of beans. He ate beans and pulse-related foods like lentils and millet and grains and things like that. And there's a part where he says that he did not use any lotions or any types of oils on his skin throughout this fast that he did for 21 days. This is, guys, because this technology exists. Why else would he stop using those products? Huh? It's because this foreign technology existed and it was able to get into the vessel through these things here. Well, are nanobots being used in medicine today? Nanobots are being used in various domains of preclinical and clinical medicine. In preclinical medicine, nanobots are being employed. Wow, they're being employed. They're giving these guys jobs. In bioimaging and various delivery systems of drugs, gene therapy, living cells, and inorganic therapeutics. Okay. How can humans avoid the damaging effects of nanotechnology? All right, you dispose of cleaning material in a sealed bag to prevent further release of nanomaterial. Use sealed or closed bag containers or cover all containers when not in use. Restrict access to areas where nanomaterials are used. Use liquid products where possible to help reduce airborne exposure. We already read earlier that it can only get in you through the mouth. Ingestion. Okay. So yeah, it may be possible that it's airborne, which is a relief. We all thought that we were spreading out the 1/9er virus to each other through contact, but excuse me, guys. Maybe I'm breathing in nanoparticles. But as we can see through reading here, it's breathed in. You ever wonder what those chemtrail things are spraying in the air, guys? Could it be nanoparticles that we're breathing in every day on a daily basis? Something to think about. What is the difference between nanobots and nanorobots? Let's see. Nanorobotics describe the technology of producing machines or robots as the nanoscale. Nanobot is an informal term to refer to engineered nanomachines. The currently hypothetical nanorobots will advance many fields to the manipulation of nano-sized objects. And here's a little picture of what that looks like, guys. You can see this little one down here zapping something. Can nanorobots be used as weapons? Here's a good one. The United States, along with countries such as Russia and Germany. There it is, the big word, Russia. Does you guys remember how they were talking about during the first wave of the one niner? If you know what I mean, the virus. I'm trying to avoid saying certain words so that I don't get this video banned. As you can see, the word Russia is here and the word Germany. They're utilizing the convenience of small nanotechnologies, adhering to nuclear mini nuke explosive devices. This weapon would weigh 5 pounds with the force of 100 tons of TNT, giving it the possibility to annihilate and threaten humanity. Whoa, guys. Now you understand what they're talking about nuclear war when they make threats. They don't need to nuke us like a huge nuke. They can just nuke us from within, guys. The war is inside of you, and I've been trying to tell people this for so long. The war is inside of you, and don't get me wrong. You know, sometimes I enjoy taking a break from eating, in the plain boring way of eating just only beans and potatoes and boring things. Sometimes I go and get me a slice of pizza, and I'm probably wrong for doing that. Cheese pizza, veggies on my pizza. I'm probably wrong for doing that because I'm putting these things inside of me. But it's, I only do it like maybe once a month and maybe twice a month, but it's never more than once a week. And I see good results by limiting the amount of this stuff that I put in me. And as you can see here, it's these nanotechnologies are used as weapons inside of us, as mini nukes. They explode within you. And this is how you know. I don't know if you guys remember, but during the pandemic of the one niner, there was on the news, they announced cyber warfare. USA was being threatened by Russia, that Russia would do cyber attacks on the US. This is it, guys. This is the cyber attack that was being done on the US. It's literally this nanotechnology that we've been getting hit with. So, that is the cyber attack, guys. It's not just messing with our emails and Facebook accounts. No, this is the cyber attack. We are being attacked from within, from the cybernetic internet. This is the weapon that's being used against us. This is what's hurting us, killing us. Now, how do you get nanoparticles out of your body? Traditional methods to remove nanoparticles from plasma samples typically involve diluting the plasma, adding a high concentration sugar solution to the plasma, and spinning it into centrifuge or attaching a targeting agent to the surface of the nanoparticles. Yeah, that's not going to happen because sugar contains the nanoparticles as well. So, yeah. And that's if your blood is out of the body, okay? There's other ways to get it out. You can get the nanoparticles out of your body, as we read earlier, by waiting 10 days. Basically, don't eat anything that contains nanoparticles for 10 days and just eat basic foods that don't contain nanoparticles in them. Like I told you earlier, potatoes, sweet potatoes, cassava, lentils, things like that. And by eating these things, oh yeah, and beans. And by eating these things only for 10 days, you can get these things out of your body. Oh, and let's not forget, you got to watch what kind of water you drink because water, if you read the labels, the water contains it as well. So you got to be careful with that as well. Best kind of water to drink is distilled water, or if you can purify your own water using your own homemade water purification system to get all the nanobots and fake minerals out of it. All those waters that contain minerals and sodium, chlorine, and things like that, usually they say they put that in there for flavor. In all reality, that's just nanoparticles, guys. All right. How can you reduce the toxicity of nanoparticles? To reduce the nanoparticle diluted to toxic ions, the toxic species, interesting, they're calling it a species, can be replaced with less toxic elements that have similar properties. The nanoparticle can be capped with a shell material. The morphology of the nanoparticle can be chosen to minimize surface area and thus minimize dissolution or chelating. What foods contain it? Common foods-related products that contain nanotechnology include candies, M&Ms, Skittles, baby bottles, and plastic storage containers. And there's a whole lot more to that list. You're looking at things like anything that's artificial, guys. Anything that's, I'm talking bread, cookies, cereals, any type of muffins, cakes, pancakes, any type of mix, like cake mix, cookie mix, any juice, Doritos, chips, anything artificial has these nanobots inside of it. And since everything has to be approved by specific groups, if you know what I mean, I'm not going to say any names so I don't get kicked out. I get this video banned. Specific groups, you have to run it through them first before you can even put your product on a shelf. And you already know who they are, guys. Okay? Our government. Now, what are the scientists worried about nanoparticles? Why are scientists worried about nanoparticles? There's some evidence that nanoparticles could lead to genetic damage. Woo! There it is. Right in your face, guys. I don't even need to convince you. It's right in your face. Nanoparticles have also been examined for their impact on the heart and blood vessels. Wow, that explains how a lot of people are getting heart conditions through specific vaccines that contain nanoparticles in them. And if you go back and you read the articles on certain vaccines from certain companies, wink, wink, I'm not going to say any names so I don't get blocked or get this video banned, but there's certain vaccines, certain things that actually contain nanoparticles in them. And they cause genetic damage. And what happens when you cause gene damage? If you didn't know, guys, I did a video on genetics and genes and genomes, the RNA, the DNA, and things like that. It gets deep. The genes in your body are literally what makes the character, what gives you your abilities. It's like literally what gives you your ability to do things. It's like how it gives you your ability to think, your ability to talk, your characteristics. It gives you your ability to problem solve, to be able to walk, like your reaction speed, everything. Your dreaming, your psychic ability, your ability to perceive and remember. Everything about you is your genes. So by damaging your genes, it's like literally damaging all your abilities, and it's dumbing you down to just a slow, basic vessel. And God didn't make us for that. God made us to be in his likeness. So to say that we are in his likeness now is like a slap in his face. We have got to restore ourselves, and we're being attacked, guys, from within. And a lot of people would sit there and say, no, that's not true. No, God is with us, and no weapon formed against him shall prosper. And, oh, you don't have faith? Oh, just pray over your food, and it'll be clean. And I'm sorry, guys, but there's nowhere in the Bible where it says that you can pray over your food and it will be clean. There's no verse that says that. The only verses where food was prayed for, it was when Jesus prayed for some food and he thanked God for the food and he blessed God for the food. It never said that he blessed the food. It never said that he prayed to God and God blessed the food. No, it said that he prayed to God and blessed God and thanked God. So it says that he himself blessed God, not that he blessed the food, not that he prayed over unclean food and blessed it and made it clean. No, guys, that's not biblical. On the contrary, there's Bible verses where God literally tells us to abstain from eating impurities, to abstain from eating food polluted by idols, like it says in the book of Acts. Do not consume food polluted by idols. And a lot of people don't understand what that means. The idols are anything that replaces God in your life. And if God was created to be your healer, then these nanobots are replacing his task in your life, which can be a idol. And a lot of people are like, well, I didn't know. As long as we don't know and we're not sinning, it's okay. It's like, look, man, the Bible also says that if the Israelite community sins unknowingly without knowledge of the matter, they are still held accountable and still are guilty, which explains the reason why so many loving, caring, beautiful, awesome Christians are going through this sickness and disease, and it's because unknowingly they're feeling the punishment from this. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm just going to trust in God and I'm going to keep moving forward. And then we end up losing so many good Christians, so many good people, and it's because of lack of knowledge. And there's a Bible verse that says, my people, I believe the way that it's quoted is, my people are deceived for lack of knowledge, or my people fail or are suppressed because of lack of knowledge. And we just need to just fix this, guys. And it all boils down to doing away with pleasures of all kinds, and food is one of the main pleasures. Guys, a lot of Christians think that just no sex and no drinking, no smoking, and no watching porno, no cursing, no lying, no cheating, and even though those are all good things that you're refraining from, but there's more, guys. There's more, and this is it. It's the food, guys. And there's another verse where David is talking about, and their table shall be a snare unto them. And basically, what else happens on a table, guys? What do you think they're talking about? Some people play Monopoly and play cards and dominoes on a table, but I don't think they're talking about that. What do you think they're talking about that happens on a table? Let their table be a snare unto them, is what David says. So they will have ears and eyes, but they will not see or hear. And he's talking about spiritual sight and hearing. You won't have that ability because of the snare that is being set before you on the table. And this verse is in the scriptures. You could look it up. Okay? Nanoparticles have also been examined in their impact on the heart and blood vessels. Long-term exposure to nanoparticles, particularly as they become more common in everyday items, is something that needs to be monitored. Wow, guys. How long do nanobots last? Around 10 days. Once, like I told you guys earlier, you can do a 10-day flush. And this goes to the book of Daniel, chapter 1, where they literally talk about how Daniel ate for 10 days only pulse. He didn't want to eat the king's food. And for those 10 days that he ate only pulse, he became 10 times better than everyone else in the entire kingdom, better than any magician, any sorcerer, any astrologer, any medium, any psychic, any witch, warlock. 10 times better he became because of doing the diet that he had. Well, if you put two and two together, it says here it takes 10 days to flush these things out of you. Okay? And on top of that, if you look at what most witches are bioengineering themselves with, some of them are bioengineering themselves using gold and nanoparticles, like how the so-called light bearers do, and like how a lot of people who summon a Krishna do, which are I believe the Hindus. Krishna is attracted to gold and silver, and so they ingest, not all of them, but many of them ingest gold and silver. There's a lot of different ways to bioengineer yourself. You can bioengineer yourself using parasites, and you can go and meditate in the moon like a lot of Buddhists do, and they multiply their parasites, and then they gain the parasitic consciousness, which is known in Christianity as the serpent, or you can do it the original way. You can refrain from everything in this world and live a very dull and boring life by refraining from everything, and you can basically be still and let God do his thing inside of you and grow. And yeah, you'll suffer from lack of pleasure because you won't be able to eat the things that people eat or indulge in the things that people indulge. You'll see everyone around you having fun, drinking, eating, and you won't be able to because you chose to go the priesthood path, the path of Christ, of cleanliness, of purity, not putting these things inside of your vessel. And, in turn, you will gain more power than any of these other cults or sects or sections, different witches. You have way more power. And although they can experience power, each sect experiences its own level of spiritual power. And for many years, witchcraft has been glorified because they've seen evidence that these spiritual powers exist and work. And they do. Each different sect has its own power. Once your body is consumed completely by one of these entities, you become one of those entities. See, what's happening is that since you consume different things every day, your body is in constant war. Okay? So you end up not letting any one of those entities win. So there's a war inside of you constantly. And also because these devices are in place, these nanobots, they make sure that they knock down everything inside of you that you've built up before you can even reach the level of gaining any type of spiritual power. So this is why many people who are spiritists, they don't use cell phones. They stay away from TVs and things like that because they understand that to build the vessel from within requires you to stay away from these devices that are created to constantly knock your house down every time you build it up. Okay, so as you can see, it takes 10 days to get them out of you. And once you get these things out of you guys, then the concept of no weapon formed against you can prosper. Okay? No weapon formed against you can prosper if you allow it to. Okay? A weapon can prosper if you allow it to. Okay? Can nanobots heal? Not only that, nanobots can be controlled internally and externally. In order to perform millions of useful tasks, nanobots could perform a variety of similarly functions, from disposing away dead cells, tissues at a wound, or helping in regrowing tissue so that it heals cleanly and quickly without leaving a nasty scar. Wow. So, as you can see in movies, like the Vin Diesel movie that recently came out, I forget what it's called. I think it's called, I forget what it's called. It's a movie where he's got nanobots and he heals and stuff like that when he gets cut. See, they can be used for good, but the thing is that it depends on who's holding the remote in their hand. We don't have the remotes in our hands, guys. We don't have control over these nanobots. The control is with the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi controls. And whoever's controlling the Wi-Fi is the one who controls the signal. Okay? That's the guy who controls it. We don't hold the remote in our hands if we have these things inside of us. Okay, let me see if I could look up another one. How do nanobots survive? They can propel themselves in linear or circular direction, join together to act collectively, and move small objects using their own cellular energy. Ooh. They can live up to 10 days. Here it is again. 10 days, guys. 10 days without anything in the body, and they're gone. Can nanobots be removed from the body? These are the cytoplasmic of these eukaryotes, whatever that says, to release degradative enzymes. Your body will then naturally dispose of them. No, since you can't remove what's not there. These are in the cytoplasms of basically, wow. No, you can't remove them. You have to wait till they get out. Okay, some of these we already saw. What are the dangers of nanobots? We already looked at this. UV light in the nanobots. The false light within. Hazardous materials and UV lights in nanorobots. The false light within. Wow. Look at that. Do nanoparticles change your DNA? We already saw that. Yes, they do. Can enter the nucleus and they potentially have DNA damage. Yes, they can. Who is the creator of nanobots? Oh, here we go. Look at this guy. Known as nanobot pioneer, Calvacanti is the medical nanobotics inventor for the practical hardware architecture of nanorobots, which was integrated as a model based on nanobioelectrics for applications in environmental monitoring, brain aneurysm, diabetes, cancer, cardiology. This guy made it for a good reason. But the enemy saw that it had potential to be used as a weapon and control. And they used it against us. They're using it against us now. Are nanobots programmed? Medical research are already able to build nanoscale robots that can be programmed to do very small tasks. Look at that, guys. Nanobots are pre-programmed to do specific things, like position tiny electrical components to deliver drugs to cancer cells. At UNSW, researchers use biological molecules like DNA to build these nanorobots. Interesting. So these little things can deliver tiny electrical components to deliver drugs to a cancer cell, but they can also deliver things to the good cells. What do nanobots run on? Nanobots are intelligent, self-replicating organisms that are produced, designed, and powered on a nanoscale to perform a specific task. These guys multiply on their own, guys. That's crazy. How do nanobots get into the body? They're ingested. They either come through human veins, which a lot of us know that we're not getting any kind of shots in us, unless you're getting a vaccine, or they're ingested. I think that we've seen just about all of these, guys. Can nanobots control humans? Yes, they can. We saw that one already. I think that we've pretty much searched all of them. And I think that concludes my video here. If you guys have any questions on this nanobots, then, give me a holler. This is like my area of study. And it's so messed up that this is happening to us, guys. As you can see here, as I scroll through, there's so much online about this. And it's messed up. This is what's hurting us. This is what's killing us. This is the next step to our evolution as children of God. It's to obey the law that states, do not put an impurity in your body of any kind. This is the one law that we are all missing. This is the one thing that we're all missing, and a lot of people will say that, hey, but I can pray over the food and God will clean it. And guys, that's not biblical. I'm sorry, as much as I hate to say it, that's not biblical. And then you guys bring up other verses where it says, the Bible says that all food is clean, but it is what comes out of your heart that makes you unclean. Okay, guys, I understand that you're doing your best to justify the things that you eat. That Bible can be highly misinterpreted sometimes, okay? The food itself is clean because it doesn't have dirt on it or anything like that, but it's what comes out of your heart that makes you unclean. Okay, well, you have to understand what happens in the heart, guys. Everything that you eat is pumped through the heart, and then it's dispersed through the body, okay? So yes, what comes from the heart can make you unclean because what you eat goes through the heart and is pumped through the body, okay? If you do some studying, you understand that that's probably what that verse meant, okay? It's impossible to look at it just by reading that verse and just to say that these things are not clean. I'm sorry. It's impossible to just read that verse and automatically assume that it means that all food is clean when it doesn't even require biblical knowledge. It's just common sense that we know that that's a lie. We know that food is unclean. Okay? That's it. That doesn't even need to be biblical. So that's how you know that verse is not talking about that in specific. Okay, and that's one of the verses that people use in order to justify eating whatever they want. And I mean, don't just take my word for it. I mean, by all means, do what you want, eat what you want. The Bible says that all things are permissible, but not all things edify. All things are permissible, but not all things are used for building up. Not all things, not all things are used for good. So, if you guys want to know what removes these things out of the body, I could tell you what removes them out of the body. It's not going to be listed here, but I've done so much research on how to remove these things from the body, guys. And I'll be honest with you, it's waiting 10 days is the one way to remove it out of the body. During these 10 days, you're going to go through some hard times. It's going to be tough. But one thing that helps you to remove them out of the body are parasites. And intestinal parasites are one of them. Okay, and you can receive these intestinal parasites from vegetables, and you can get these intestinal parasites from things like meat, vegetables. Here it is: raw fruits and vegetables, raw undercooked freshwater and marine fish. As a vegan, the main source for parasites is raw fruits and vegetables, and these things can give you parasites. Okay, as you can see here, all these things are actually ones that these things here actually get rid of parasites. Okay, these are good foods to get rid of parasites. All right, one of my favorite ones is pomegranate. They destroy worms in the intestinal tract. Coconuts, drink the juice and eat the flesh every morning. Then fast for 4 hours. Papaya, garlic's been good for doing it. Cayenne pepper helps to repel parasites. Sunflower, pumpkin seeds, all these things here are good. Cleanses the system of worms. Thyme is good. All these things are good for getting rid of the parasites. But when you need the parasites, okay, you can eat the vegetables, like it says in the other page here. So this is the strategy. In your 10 days of removing parasites from your system, in your 10 days of removing nanotechnology from your system in order to regain your native DNA, you would need to refrain from salt, you would need to refrain from sugar, and any type of juice or flavored beverage or any type of artificial water. The only thing you're going to want is distilled, fresh, clean water. Zero water. Okay, what are the most common food sources of parasites? Undercooked pork. You can eat these items here in your 10 days. Okay, so you're doing 10 days of flushing out nano products. I'll be honest with you, I would recommend just doing the raw fruits and vegetables. That would be the best way to get these parasites inside of you that help you to get rid of the nanobots, the blue. These foods here that you see in front of you are considered red food. Okay? This is red. This is leftist. Okay? This is left. This is the far left right here. This is left food. So you eat this, and even though these foods are parasitic, these parasites are the ones that are going to help you to get rid of the one-niner. You indulge in these parasites, and then eventually, when you're finally done with the one-niner, which should be 10 days, then your next step is to get rid of the parasites. Okay? And that, my friend, is when you go to these items here. Okay? And during this time, instead of eating those foods that I just showed you, you would then eat only things like Daniel ate in chapter 1. Okay? Daniel ate pulse is what he ate. Okay? Pulse in the Bible. Okay. So you can see here images of what pulse is. This is what Daniel indulged in the Bible. He ate this kind of stuff. Okay? This is pulses. Beans, lentils. So they're actually really good and they actually contain everything the body needs. So in the Bible, only vegetables and water are listed in the scripture, but the word pulse in the King James Bible is defined as vegetable foods in general. That's not exactly true because pulse, if you look at the definition of pulse, pulse is basically just beans and stuff like that. Okay, vegetables was changed when they came out with other versions of the same scripture, other versions of the Bible. And this was done on purpose because the enemy knew that the true way to do this was with pulse alone. Okay? But when they added vegetables, then that's when they knew that people would do this by doing it with parasites. And then you wouldn't be able to succeed as just a raw vegan. A full-time raw vegan won't be able to succeed, unfortunately, in gaining 100% Christ consciousness. The reason being is because they're going to be full of serpents and parasites and demons. Okay, so in order to get rid of these guys, those demons, you got to eat those foods that I showed you. Okay, those parasite-killing foods. Only after your nanobots are dead, because if you do that, then your nanobots are going to take over. Okay? Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat the portions of the king's meat, and thou shalt deal with thy servants. As you can see here, Daniel was 10 times better than everyone after eating this diet. And I'll show you this. There it is. Daniel was 10 times better. And in all the matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. In every manner of wisdom and understanding. Wow. 10 times better than all the magicians, mediums, sorcerers, all of that. What was the excellent spirit in Daniel? And because Daniel had an excellent spirit, the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. In the book of Daniel, the Holy Spirit was revealed to us as an excellent spirit. Daniel received this through his actions and what he did. What was special about Daniel in the Bible? Well, the best known Daniel and the hero of the book Daniel, who interprets dreams and receives apocalyptic visions. The Bible also briefly mentions 3 other individuals of this name. The book of Ezekiel refers to a legendary Daniel famed for wisdom and righteousness. So, as you can see, he prayed 3 times a day. What is the main lesson in the book of Daniel? Daniel is a story of a person being faithful to God. More importantly, the life of Daniel, decoded in the Old Testament, gives us evidence of God's faithfulness. God knew Daniel. He knew Daniel's needs and what Daniel was struggling with, and it's clear that God cared for Daniel. How did Daniel stay faithful to God? We found out later in the 6th chapter that Daniel, his daily routine was to kneel towards Jerusalem from his window and pray to God 3 times a day. Of course, this became the reason thrown into the lion's den. Well, that's about it for Daniel. But the real thing that Daniel did here that made him great is the way that he ate. And that increased his favor with God because he was obedient to the law of no impurities of any kind. He did not want to pollute himself with the king's food. And here it is. However, the term pulse is used in the King James Version alone, which means beans or seed grown for food. This gives permission to those on the Daniel fast to eat whole grains, fruits, and other plant-based foods. Everything else is off limits. Now that doesn't mean other plant-based foods. It's literally just beans or seeds, guys. It's the other versions that say vegetables. And as I told you, vegetables give you the parasite. And pulse is basically this in this picture. Okay? Okay. And that's it, guys. That's what you need to eat to continue in the diet, which will keep you pure on the inside. It's this right here. The body requires specific amino acids in order to survive. And in order to have all these amino acids, you can find them all in Pulse. Essential amino acids. The essential amino acids, guys, what are they? Let's look. These are the essential amino acids right here. Histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. Okay, so let's see. Sprouted lentils have all. Do sprouted lentils or beans have all the essential amino acids? They're also a good source of various amino acids, including tryptophan, isoleucine, lysine. Lentils, especially sprouted lentils, contain all the essential amino acids needed for our body, healthy muscles, and overall healthy body function. So as you could see here, guys, we don't require the food pyramid because beans alone or pulse contains everything that we need. It's no wonder that Daniel ended up becoming 10 times better than everybody in the kingdom because he ate this and he was clean, pure. He wasn't polluted with anything else. He didn't have any kind of gold or any type of artificial or parasite inside of his body. He was literally clean and pure because he had everything in his body that he was supposed to have, minus anything that would alter his DNA. So some people ask, well, if you're saying for us to eat these raw fruits and veggies and these parasite foods, then does that mess with our DNA? Well, let's find out. Do parasites alter DNA? Although much of the epigenetic makeup, including DNA, methylation is determined during cellular differentiation and development, parasites may induce changes in the DNA methylation profile of mature immune cells that can alter the accessibility of transcription factors to genes. Wow. So as you can see here, guys, yes, they do alter your DNA and they do mess with the transcription factors to your genes. Okay, so if you want to know what transcription factors are, let's look that up also. This is a good study. You're learning exactly the weapons that are being used against us. Transcription factors are proteins involved in the process of converting or transcribing DNA into RNA. Transcription factors include a wide number of proteins, including RNA polymerase, that initiate and regulate the transcription of genes. All right, basically, if you don't understand what that means, basically, it's like the DNA into RNA. It's like giving the genes and all the materials and cells in your body a task. It's telling them what they need to do in order to create the specific kind of protein that your body needs to be able to perform certain functions. Okay. Now, whenever that's blocked off, your body don't act right. And that's when you need things like medicine and you need basically things to replace the natural God-given functions of our already existing perfect DNA, which is the blood of Christ that he gave us. He shed his blood for us within, and we dilute this blood and destroy it. God is within us. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Jesus Christ is in our bodies, guys. But if Christ is in you, through the body is dead because of sin, the spirit is life because Christ is within you. Jesus is living in us, guys, and there's many verses that validate this, okay? And many people argue this, that no, it doesn't mean that he lives directly in us. Yes, it does, because we have this, we share the same blood. It's the same concept as a apple tree. If an apple falls down from the tree, might not mean that the apple tree is the exact same as the other tree that was planted from an apple seed. It may not be the exact tree, but it is the exact DNA, which means that that tree is of the same origin. Okay, same as you and your kids. If you got kids, your kid may not be you, but have you ever heard the when people tell, oh, your kid's just like you. Oh, your kids are like father like son, like daughter like mother. It's the same concept, guys. And we are the children of God. And God himself says in the scriptures that we were conformed to be just like him. We were born in his image. So, not that we're God of all gods. No, that's not what it means. It means that, we were conformed to be in the likeness of Christ, to be in the likeness of God. So, guys, this is my study. My study is basically that we need to do something about the way that we eat and do our best to clean ourselves on the inside, because, this food is killing us, and we just got to do something about it, because this is the one thing that we are all missing, is that, we're missing the purity that we require in order to be a pure vessel of God. What does the Bible mean when it says impurity? And impurity is something that ruins the uncontaminated nature of something. If someone accuses you of impurity, they think you or your nature has been spoiled in some way by sin. Listen to that definition. An impurity is something that ruins the uncontaminated nature of something. So if a human is uncontaminated when they're born, then is it safe to say that an impurity is something that changes your DNA? That an impurity is something that can contaminate the body and make it sick? And yeah, as you can see, why does God want us to stay pure? The most significant benefit of purity is that it allows you to entrance into God's holy presence. The Bible says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This eternal life is only possible by receiving forgiveness of sins through faith in Jesus Christ. Okay. What does Paul say about purity? For I feel a divine jealousy for you, since I betrothed you to become 100% pure virgin to Christ. Okay, you gotta become a pure virgin to Christ. How can we stay pure before God? Get a new heart. We are not pure people by nature. Love what God loves. Indeed, this is the heart of the matter. Having a heart that fears and loves God and wants to do the things that bring him joy. Control yourself. Be accountable. Well, a lot of these definitions in the Bible about purity are not going to flat out tell you that food is the thing that's causing you to be impure. Okay? May their table set before them become a snare. May it become retribution and a trap. May their eyes be darkened so they cannot see, and their backs be bent forever. Pour out your wrath on them. Let your fierce anger overtake them. Okay, this is that verse that I was telling you about, guys. And even though the context may be off, but if you understand the stories of the Bible are basically it's basically an analogy. It's not something that's written literal. It's a parable. Here's another one where they literally say the same thing in Romans 11:9, King James Version. And David said, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back away. Have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall salvation is come unto the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy. Well, as you can see, guys, their fall, rather through their fall salvation is come unto the Gentiles. Well, that's part of the story, but the main part here that I'm showing you is their eyes were darkened and they could not see. Okay, they had lost their ability to see. Their table was made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and recompense unto them. What else happens on a table, guys? Basically, what happens on a table is that you eat. Okay? This this is in the Bible a few times. And, well, there's a lot of people that interpret this differently. There's many different interpretations in the Bible, but you need to figure out your own interpretation. God says it is for God to withhold a matter, but it is for kings to seek out a matter. Okay? Proverbs 25:2. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter. No better example of the scripture than the birth of Savior Jesus Christ. We need to seek out a matter, guys. You need to diligently seek. It's not going to be something that you can just Google a verse like I'm doing right now. I'm just doing this to show you guys on this video. But you must seek for yourselves in order for you to see what's going on, what's going on in the scripture. And that's what I'm doing here. I did a lot of studying so that I could show this to you guys, so you guys could really know what's going on and why it's important to refrain from parasites and things like that, and parasites and the nanobots. The nanobots are really the worst one of all, but you use one to fight the other. And that's why there's politicians that say when reason fails, the devil helps. It's a quote by Fyodor Dostoevsky. When reason fails, the devil helps. And if you read this book is actually pretty deep. It's letting you know the devil, okay? I'm not saying that the devil's going to help us. The devil represents the red foods, the foods that have parasites in them, okay? Parasitic foods, these guys right here, guys, that we see here. That's the foods that contain the devil parasite, okay? The devil worm. This is there's many different things that explore it, but it's basically just a parasite, guys, all right? That's what it is. And this parasite grows inside of you and grows and grows and grows, and it becomes something like this. I know this is hard to believe, okay? But what do you think they're talking about in the Bible? Huh? Movies depict these things for a reason, guys. Okay? I know the Bible, this is probably more accurate here of what it probably looks like. They're not going to show us this, guys. They're not going to just flat out say this is what's inside of us. There's many movies that depict these things inside of us, and you just got to put two and two together. One of the movie is Extinction, when the guy had a worm inside of him, and that worm, extinction worm in belly scene. There was a part where the guy, this isn't it. There was a part where the guy had a big worm in his stomach. They're not showing it. Extinction movie. If any of you saw the movie Extinction with Natalie Portman in it, you will see that there's a scene where they have the parasite in their belly, and they discovered it, and they were all cutting themselves open to pull it out. All right. Basically, it's these little guys here. It's another depiction of the parasites in the body. Many movies are depicting this, and they're making it into a fantasy type thing, when in all reality, it's the truth. This is really what's inside of us. If you look at Buddhist cultures, they all worship the dragon, and the dragon is inside of them, and this is what it looks like. Okay, and the Bible even speaks of this thing, except the Bible calls it, in many instances, the Leviathan. Leviathan. Final Fantasy. And as you can see, the Leviathan looks very similar to what I showed you in the other depiction. Okay, there's scriptures where the Bible talks about the Leviathan, and that's talking about the parasite within, guys. Okay. Okay. Leviathan appears in Psalms as a multi-headed sea serpent that is killed by God and given as food to the Hebrews in the wilderness. Leviathan is a serpent and a symbol of Israel's enemies who will be slain by God. Okay. So, as you can see, the Bible talks about Leviathan as in a storyline. Okay. But remember that the Bible is literally taking place within you. Okay. So, as you can see, the Bible is talking about the Leviathan. And the Leviathan is in the game Final Fantasy, and it pretty much is this guy here. Okay, and this guy is depicted in many movies and in many different ways. And, I'm not saying that that's exactly what it looks like, but there's just many movies where they show you this parasite. And there's different kinds of intestinal parasites. As you can see here, guys, there are many different kinds. There's tapeworms, hookworms, heartworms. As you can see, there's heartworms, guys. These guys live in the heart, okay? And here's a good picture of them. Here's one of them right here that has the open mouth. Here's another one right here. That one's ugly. Okay, that thing's got some weird looking teeth. Yeah. So, as you can see, guys, these are the little devils and demons that exist inside of us. They're parasites. They're not supposed to be in our body. And the Bible itself forbids us from having these creepy crawlers in our system. Okay. Whatsoever groweth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all four, or whatsoever hath more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth, them ye shall not eat, for they are an abomination. So if you're eating food that has parasites in them, which move on the belly, you're not supposed to have that inside of you, guys. I mean, the Bible verses say this. It's not just saying don't eat a snake. It's also saying, it's in particular, don't eat things that go on the belly. That's a worm. And if the food was really clean, it would not have these worms inside. It would not give you worms and parasites. So, I'm going to conclude this study right now with that. I mean, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment on this. I hope that you comment on it. I hope that many people see this, because this is important. And, yeah. And I'm going to leave it with one more verse. And this is the one that a lot of people don't understand. Here it is. If a person acts unfaithfully and sins unintentionally against the Lord's holy things, then he shall bring his guilt offering to the Lord. Oh, that's one of them. Okay. Someone who commits an unintentional sin bears the consequence of his guilt and of his sin. He shall bring there's a lot of different things here. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that the Bible says that if you sin unintentionally, you're still guilty, which means that you still are punished for what you do. And that's the reason why so many good, loving, caring Christians are going through the punishment. And they don't deserve it. But it's just lack of knowledge, guys. And I hope that this study shows you guys the knowledge. And we need to do our best to eat correct so that we can fight this and we can survive this pandemic, this war that's going on inside of us. This is what's been preventing us from being healed.